Welcome into SportsZone All Access on this Monday, November 24th. My name is Kelsey Dennehy, and I am riding solo today. No Ian, no Grant. So it is going to be an interesting one, but we still have a lot of stuff to cover, including the FCS selection show that happened on Sunday morning, and both South Dakota State and South Dakota received at-large bids. South Dakota State at the 14 seed and South Dakota at the 11 seed. But first, Jordan DeSmit was in Brookings. He caught up with the Jackrabbits and head coach Dan Jackson, and we will hear from him right now.
14-seed SDSU will host New Hampshire in the first round. The Jacks come into the postseason battle-tested with an 8-4 record.
We've honestly battled adversity since last December, and I think it's just enabled our team to grow. Every player, every coach. And I think we're at a point now where we can kind of flip the script a little bit. I think that adversity has built our team to be something special.
Head coach Dan Jackson hopes to have some key players return this week, including senior quarterback Chase Mason, who has been sidelined with an injury for about a month.
Chase is improving all the time, and he's doing more and more, and he warmed up yesterday to the best of his ability and was really close to giving it a go. I'd be confident that he'll be ready to play. That's where my gut is at right now.
The Jackrabbits have played a tough schedule and are one of 6 teams from the Missouri Valley Football Conference to make it into the postseason.
Playing the schedule that you play in the regular season sets you up for an opportunity to not be surprised by anything when you get into the playoffs.
And they'll need to be at their best for their first-round matchup.
At this point, everyone's 0-0, so we treat it like a new season. We prepare how we always do, and then you go show up on Saturdays.
Playoff football, you need to be playing your best, and you need to coach your best too.
Jordan DeSmit, KELOLAND Sports.
Well, thanks so much, Jordan, for that. And that is the Jackrabbits' 14th consecutive bid to the postseason. That's a crazy number, and they definitely did it in exciting fashion this season. They won on Saturday at North Dakota in an overtime thriller, 34-31, and that is really what got them into the playoffs. Before that, they were on a 4-game losing skid. They lost to North Dakota State, Indiana State, at South Dakota, and then against Illinois. The first time they have lost at home against North Dakota State, against any team, in 33 games. And so for them to pick themselves back up at the end and get a win, get in the postseason, is huge for the Jackrabbits. They are hosting a New Hampshire team that is 8-4, so about the same record as them, which is interesting for a first-round game. Should be a competitive one. Kickoff is set for noon at Dana J. Dykhouse Stadium, and Kello will, of course, have coverage, and we will also be talking about it all week long as both teams prepare. Well, coming up next, South Dakota also received a bid. They're the 11 seed, and we can't forget about them. We will speak with them up next as I was in Vermilion. You're watching SportsZone All Access. Welcome back to SportsZone All Access on KELOLAND Plus. I'm Kelsey Dennehy on this Monday, November 24th, and we talked about SDSU making the postseason, and USD also made the postseason. They came in at the 11 seed, and they will play host to Drake in the Dakota Dome at noon as well on Saturday. The Coyotes had an electric end to their season, beating 3 ranked opponents in a row to come out with an 8-4 record. They started 5-4 and really picked things up. It was an exciting one. They played 12 straight weeks of football, which is a little bit different. They didn't have a bye week until the very last week, so they've just been sitting and waiting for this selection show, getting healthy. And I spoke with head coach Travis Johansson after the seedings were released. Here's what he had to say.
Fun place to be again. You know, we had a bye week, so you don't have an opponent, and when you don't have an opponent, you can get a little stir crazy after 12 straight weeks of football. So excited to get back at it.
You talked about UC Davis. That was a big one there. So I think everybody.
This is the Coyotes' 3rd consecutive playoff appearance, but the first in the Travis Johansson head coaching era at USD, and he spoke a lot about just the standard that the Coyotes have in their meeting afterward, and also just when we were speaking with him, and how this is the first step. This is what everybody does, and that it isn't a big deal, really. He said what is a big deal is how they react and how they move forward in facing this Drake opponent, and that they're super excited. Drake is a team that like I mentioned, the Coyotes already beat, and they beat at a point in the season where they were coming off of losses to Iowa State and to Lamar, both on the road. They beat Northern Colorado in overtime, and then they saw Drake in week 4. So it was definitely an interesting point of the season for the Coyotes, and it'll be interesting to see just how much these two teams have evolved since that point in the season. Obviously, we've talked a lot about on this show that the Coyotes are a totally different team. They are a point-blank example of the reason why you don't win championships in September. And they showed that in very contrarian to what South Dakota State season has looked like. And we saw them play each other and USD come out with the win. So it'll be interesting to see how they look against Drake. They kick off at noon in the Dakota Dome. USD is 5-1 in the regular season at home. They've played some of their best football in the Dakota Dome, so it'll be interesting to see how well they're able to play this Drake team for a second time when the stakes are higher. Well, coming up after this, our Ian Sachs spoke with Sioux Falls Sports Authority about some of the other exciting sporting events going along around Sioux Falls. You're watching SportsZone All Access. We'll be right back.
Welcome into SportsZone All Access, and we have a couple of guests in studio today. A pair of workers from the Sioux Falls Sports Authority, Jerry Palesci and Thomas Lee, the president and project director for the organization. And guys, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. This is a cool setup you have here.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Ian.
Yeah, really appreciate you guys coming in. Well, it's been a really busy time for you guys the last couple of weeks, and I know it's only going to get even more busy for you guys in the coming months. Wanted to kind of talk about what's gone on the last couple of months and weeks for you, and then kind of look ahead to what's coming up, especially a very busy March. We'll talk all about that later. But first, the most recent thing that you guys put on was the Olympic curling trials here in Sioux Falls. They wrapped up on Sunday, the Sunday before the Thanksgiving week. And just tell me what it went into putting an event like that together, and how did it go?
It was awesome. Let's rewind 2 years ago when we first put the bid in and met with USA Curling and showed off our city and showed off the Premier Center. All the puzzle pieces have to fit to bring an event here and for them to want to be here. And they did, and it took Jerry and I and many others 2 years of planning for it to come to fruition. So there's a lot of buildup, truly 2 years worth of buildup, and then in 1 week, essentially the event happens and it's gone. So it's a whirlwind. It happens slowly, and then it happens really quickly, and everybody was happy. USA Curling was thrilled. The USOPC was happy. The venue was happy. Jerry and I were happy. It was just truly a successful event from all aspects. The spectators that were there, I think, enjoyed it. Whether they knew that much about curling or not, I think they learned to really enjoy it and understand it, and I was definitely in that boat. I didn't know much about curling until I saw it for a day or two, and then I was hooked.
Well, for you, you mentioned it right there, Thomas, and now to swing it over to you, Jerry. You mentioned about that ramp up. 2 years to go into a 6-day event, and it extended to the 6th day. You couldn't ask for anything more of it coming down to a winner-take-all championship match on that Sunday night.
Oh, for sure. We had a couple of articles that we found that are like curling based, and one of which specifically said that if you could find a better curling game, throughout the course of the entire year, it'd be hard to find. And that's just kind of what we had. The first game was thrilling. There was a little bit of controversy with it, with one of the sweepers hitting one of the stones. That was Luke Violette for Team Casper. And the nice part and the fun part about curling is that it's self-governed. So Luke actually reported himself to Team Schuster and said, this is what happened, this is what went on. And after John Schuster kind of went over the different scenarios, he admitted that he kind of knew at the time that the difference between them getting 4 and 3 was not going to make too much of a difference for him, because essentially with that shot anyway, Team Casper kind of won the game. And then for them to come back in game 2 with John Schuster, who was a 2018 Olympic medalist, his team on the ropes, to come out in that second game and to fire right back in the way that they did, where I guess in the baseball equivalent, we had a walk-off stone throw in game 2. Schuster just had to step up, and all he had to do was put it close to the button, right? So he managed to do that in the 10th end to force the game 3. And I'll tell you, without knowing every little detail about curling, what felt like for game 3 was Team Casper coming out and doing everything at will. They did not miss a single shot the entire night, and it was impressive to see them slay the giant that is John Schuster and his team. So the final call that took place on the broadcast was, it's the changing of the guard in USA curling, and to hear that and to know that that happened here in Sioux Falls is pretty special.
Yeah, that's a great point there, that it's not just, okay, it's any old Olympic trials. It was one that's going to be historic going down. John Schuster going, 4 or 5 Olympics in a row, and now he's not the one representing Team USA. And I know for myself, I was out there a couple of days, and the first day or two, I was kind of just figuring it out, taking it all in, and then by the end, I was starting to see the strategy. Well, talking to whoever I was sitting next to, well, okay, if they roll the stone here, they could do that. And I was really getting into it.
We were too, Ian. It was so fun. Our evolution of learning the game from Tuesday to Saturday and Sunday kept multiplying, because we knew zero about it beforehand. And it was a blast. We were hanging on the last couple throws of each of the finals games like it was extra innings in the World Series. It was really fun.
And the way to equate it, too, is that we went from, it felt like watching Red Zone, where you had 4 games going on at once, and you didn't really know where to keep your attention. You're bouncing back and forth, to all of a sudden then seeing the Super Bowl. Because it went down to one sheet. You knew that whoever was going to come out of this final was going to represent Team USA on the world's biggest stage. So to see all of that, and then to come back from what you did see the first few days in the double round robin and the 4 games going on at once, to just being able to focus on the one, that was kind of cool too, because then, like you mentioned, the strategy, you start noticing, okay, they're going to throw a guard here. Now, why? Before, on Tuesday, I'm asking, why in the world are they throwing a guard? Well, now you kind of understand, and when you get to that 9th and that 10th end, and you're seeing the way that they have all the different stones laid out, and you have that picture in your head of, okay, I see what they're trying to do here. The fun part of all of that was then on the other side going, how are they going to attack it? And still not knowing exactly how they were. But it ended up, being shocking and a lot of times over.
I think what Jerry's saying is we're expert curlers.
Yes, 100%.
So what I'm hearing is in 4 years, when the Olympic trials come back, it'll be you guys out there.
Yeah, we do need a lead. Are you in, Ian? We'll take
sure.
you.
I'm with it.
we need some training, but we'll think about that one.
Well, that should be fun. But a lot of other fun stuff going on in the Sports Authority. A couple months ago, you had the marathon once again. What's an event like this? I know, Thomas, when we spoke a couple of months ago, you said how, for a lot of events, everything's so self-contained in a couple 100-yard area. Now you have staff and participants spread out all across the city here in the marathon.
Yeah, it makes it a little trickier, but again, months of planning leading up to it, making sure the volunteers are where they need to be and wake up and show up and know their role. And Jerry and I are all over this city on race day, making sure that if anything were to go awry, that we're just a couple minutes away. But we also have what we call marshals or lead volunteers taking each section of the course. So if something happens and Jerry and I can't get to it in 5 minutes, there is another lead vital volunteer that can take it. So it's a great event. We had Jerry 4,000. Well, no, almost 3,000. Let me say almost 3,000 runners this year. We're hoping to get more and more. We're hoping to get that 4 or 5 mark here in the next couple of years. But we had our largest participants since 2018. And, for a marathon, it doesn't matter if you're doing it for 100 people or 10,000 people. You still have to have all the roads closed and all the volunteers in place, the water stops, the police officers. So we always say the more the merrier. So we hope that number keeps growing as the years go by. We're further back into September, so the weather's a little cooler then versus when we used to be in August. We think that helped registration a lot, and it's a really fun event. It's a really good way to kind of cap off summer as the kids are back in school, and of course, colder weather is soon to come.
You guys always put on a great marathon there, and speaking of colder weather, there's a busy period coming up, especially in March. Big headline here at the Summit League extending its contract with the City of Sioux Falls and the Sports Authority. Always a fun week at the Premier Center. Jerry, how much work goes into putting an event like that on where you have, almost 24 basketball teams all vying for championships? It's some pretty long days, but it's a lot of fun.
Oh, it certainly is a lot of fun. And you look at the evolution of this tournament from 2009 to where it is today, and you look at all the different support from the City of Sioux Falls. So for us, it was a no-brainer when they put out the RFP and looking to extend it out. It's a no-brainer for us to look at that, gather with the City of Sioux Falls and the Denny Sanford Premier Center and all the folks that we work with to put forward yet another bid to keep this going into this town. And you look at what has happened over the course of the years and how much work does go into it. It's certainly one of those. It's one of those tournaments that every single year that we finish, you look at each other and say, "All right, we're ready for next year already." So it's so much fun, and of course, the city has embraced it just so much over the years and continues to do so. It gets bigger and bigger each year, and we're expecting that to continue on over the next few.
Yeah, looking forward to it. March 4th through the 8th this coming year. And later on in March, the NCAA Hockey Regionals return to Sioux Falls. And that was fun 2 years ago when I got to cover Boston University winning that one. What does it mean to have them coming back now 2 years later?
Oh, it's huge. You look back at 2024 and the success of that regional that took place here in Sioux Falls. Boston University, we had Omaha, we had the University of Minnesota here, we had the Rochester Institute of Technology. So to get the opportunity, of course, to get it back here 2 years later, hosting with Omaha once again, we're very much so looking forward to it. And the NCAA, I mean, all things considered, and we put our bids forward every single time that they open up the portal, but they have a lot of trust in us, and they have a lot of trust in the city of Sioux Falls because we have it here in 26. We're going to have it again in 2028. In 28, we're going to host with Augustana University. So a little bit of the behind the scenes with that is when these bids for 24 and 26 were put into place, Ian, Augustana didn't have a hockey team. So it was one of those, we partnered with Omaha, and we absolutely love Omaha, and their staff is incredible, to say the least. And now in 2028, they understand we have a team that's in our backyard. We're going to partner with Augustana, and what's really cool about that is, if you're unfamiliar with Division I hockey and the regional and the way that it works, is that in 2028, if Augustana qualifies for the playoffs, they automatically play in Sioux Falls at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. So that's something we're certainly looking forward to. We're very much so looking forward to 2026 here with Omaha, and same thing with them. As soon as they clinched in 24, we knew we were getting Omaha, and they bring such a great crowd up. And again, their staff is just phenomenal to work with. So we can't wait to host this one again.
Yeah, well, certainly college hockey growing here in the city of Sioux Falls with Augustana continuing to have success. But here's a look at the upcoming events that your organization's going to be putting on in just the next few short weeks and months. First up, the Division II Women's Volleyball Championship. That's in December. And then the Boxing Classic, and then it's that full sprint in March. We talked Summit League. We talked ice hockey. Also the Division II Wrestling Championships. What goes into putting a schedule and a calendar like this together where it's going to be a full sprint come March?
Organization. We'll get off. We've really, even wrapping up the marathon and now wrapping up curling, we have been working on all 7 events simultaneously. So we'll get off calls or planning meetings with any one particular event. And sure enough, like, we just have to make sure our piles are organized so that we can review our notes when we need to understand what we have to do for each event. So truly, it's a lot of communication with us and those organizations, and just making sure that each one is and goes as flawless as it would if it were just our one event in 7 months, let alone 7 events in 7 months.
Well, you guys do a great job. Appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come in and chat about what's been going on and what's to look forward to in the coming months. Thomas, Jerry, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ian.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. Thanks for having us. And City of Sioux Falls, make sure you come on out and support us with the NCAA events that come to town, all the different events that we have as well. Like I said, the NCAA has a lot of trust in us. So for us to have 3 of them, 3 of their events within the next couple of months, that says a lot about the city. So come on out and support.
That it does. Well, appreciate you guys, and more SportsZone All Access coming up next.
Welcome back to SportsZone All Access on this Monday, November 24th. Well, we talked about the FCS selections and postseason football, but before we go, here is what to expect on KELOLAND tonight at 10. It is a busy Monday evening. First, we aired a story on SDSU's playoff appearance on Sunday night, and tonight it is the Coyotes' turn. I was in Vermillion on Sunday, and I spoke with head coach Travis Johansson, and we talked about their season and the playoffs and what we should expect to see from the Coyotes and their squad. So we will hear from them tonight at 10, and then it is the Summit League volleyball tournament, and the semifinals have actually already begun as we speak. 2-seed South Dakota is taking on St. Thomas. They're the 3-seed. They beat the 6-seed Omaha on Sunday afternoon to advance to the semifinal. And then at 6 p.m., SDSU will take on 4-seed NDSU. NDSU will get a crack at the undefeated Jackrabbits. They have not lost in the Summit League yet and are vying for the double championship, the regular season championship, as well as the tournament championship. So it'll be a great 2 matches, and we will have all of those highlights for you tonight on KELOLAND News at 10. Well, that is all we have for you today on this Monday, November 24th. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kelsey Dennehy, and you're watching SportsZone All Access on KELOLAND Plus.